Hey guys, welcome to yet another live stream, a collaboration between the Bruised Perspective, PewPew Apologetics, and On Air Daily. So today we have yet another set of claims, etc., all happening that we'll be looking into. Today, actually, we have a renowned Islamic scholar that we are analyzing, seeing what he says. His name is Mustafa Khattab. Pew Pew, do you want to say anything about him?
Mustafa Khattab is, well, greetings all, blessings unto all of you. Thank you for joining. But Mustafa Khattab is the author of one of the renowned translations of the Quran, right? Um, so the credentials of this man is widely known in the Islamic world. It is not a lightweight that we are presenting today. This is the Mustafa Khattab.
Yep. He, people said he's the author of the Clear Quran translation. He's also done a whole bunch of other books for both adults and children. He's also written a biography translation of Muhammad himself. So he's qualified. He's qualified in the language and things like that. But let's see what kind of things he concocts. All right, let's get into it. Oh, before we start, one more thing. Guys, we'll be posting a link in the side chat as well. So if you have anything to say, if you're Muslim, you have anything to say about what we're saying, what we're critiquing, anything like that, please feel free to join us on that link. And then, yeah, you can talk to us. So, yeah, let's get into it.
61 non-Arabic names in the Quran. Every time Allah gives you one of...
So 61 non-Arabic names in the Quran. Right. So he's already admitted they're not Arabic.
Yes.
Again, this should be not non-controversial, something obvious to people. This is not Arabic names. Let's see how he treats them, though.
those names in the Quran, he gives you the definition of the name in the same ayah from the original language, even if the original language was dead when the Quran was revealed. An Egyptian guy, back in 1992, his name is Raouf Abu Sa'da. He spoke Arabic, his native tongue. He studied Latin and Greek and Hebrew, Syrianic. He studied ancient Egyptian. This guy was amazing. He published a book called Al-Alam Al-A'jami Mufassaran fil Qur'an. You can download the PDF. You Google it. He said there are 61 non-Arabic names in the Quran. Like Ishaq, Ismail, Yaqub. These are not Arabic names originally. They came from other languages. He said those 61 non-Arabic names in the Quran, every time Allah gives you one of those names in the Quran, He gives you the definition of the name in the same ayah from the original language, even if the original language was dead when the Quran was revealed. When they found Musa...
That is a very interesting claim.
Yeah.
So just so we all understand we're on the same page, he's saying that the names that are revealed in the Quran are surrounded either prior or just after by the definition of the name or some allusion to its definition of what that name means. He also added that even if the language was dead at the time. This is interesting because, as far as I'm aware, none of those languages that surrounded them at the time were dead. Hebrew was still Hebrew, Aramaic was still Aramaic, Syriac was still Syriac, etc., etc. So I'm not sure what is about to follow and what conclusions he's about to draw from it, but it's not like a retrieval of lost knowledge, right? If those names are Hebraic, the Hebrews at the time would have known what it meant. In fact, our book, the Torah, the Tanakh, is very clear about the names because names had a very specific function in the ancient Near East. They denoted vocation or function of a thing, of a person, etc. So its explanation of what they meant goes hand in hand with the giving of the name. Let's see what he makes of it.
In the basket, did he come with a name tag that said Musa? No. This is the name that Pharaoh and his wife gave to Musa alayhi salam. Musa is an ancient Egyptian name that means little boy. And remember, the ancient Egyptian language was dead 2,000 years before the Qur'an was revealed, and it stayed dead for another 1,200 years after the
I think I missed that.
So
Qur'an was revealed.
Yeah, go on.
So how does he know, or where does he pull that Musa means little kid? Literally,
Yeah.
he's saying little kid. How does he know this? Let's listen one more time.
And it stayed dead for another 1,200 years after the Quran was revealed. It was deciphered like 160 years ago with the Champollion. He found the Rosetta Stone and he deciphered it. So the Rosetta Stone and he Champollion, for like 1,200 revealed, and it stayed dead 2,000 years before the Quran was revealed, and it stayed dead for another 1,200 years after the Quran. The ancient Egyptian language was dead.
What? There were no Egyptians at the time?
So I think he might have been saying this is hieroglyphics. That the name Musa is coming from the same time as the hieroglyphics. Okay, let's grant him this. How does he know? Where does it say that Musa means little kid?
Yep.
Because 2,000 years before their Quran showed up, literally 2,000 years, Moses wrote in the Torah, in the book of Exodus chapter 2, verse 10. Right? It says, and Moses grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter. Well, the mother, after having nursed him, the mother brings him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he becomes the son of the Pharaoh's daughter. And she named him Moses, Moshe. Why? Because I drew him out of the water. Literally, the word comes from that meaning, right? Masha, or the name Moshe, right? And we say Moses in English, Musa for the Arabs, right? Right. So this word literally is translated as having come from the meaning to pull out of water, to draw out. 2,000 years before this Quran showed up. So you have the word and the meaning written there in a text contemporary to, actually, who writes it? Moses himself. So would Moses not know what his name meant in the language that he grew up studying? Like he was a child in the royal court, the son of Pharaoh's daughter, grandson to Pharaoh himself, Pharaoh. The word, so we say Pharaoh in English. You can't go by English pronunciation, right? We just make it sound nice, right? Like Nehemiah, bro, that is nothing like the name Nehemiah, right? Nehemiah. So you have Pharaoh, right? Pharaoh, that's his name. And from there, when you spell it out, you just, Pharaoh. Okay, fine. Okay, Pharaoh in English. No problem. We'll go with that. But this guy is growing up as the grandson of Pharaoh, the king of the greatest nation known at that time. You're saying that what Moses wrote, when he said Moses means to draw out of water, he doesn't know his own name. Muhammad, 2,000 years later, knows the meaning of a word. According to this guy, it's a dead language. It's a dead language for at least a millennia, maybe two. But Muhammad knows the meaning of this word, even though Moses, who wrote this himself, tells us what it means.
Yeah.
Somebody make it make sense.
In fact, it's only our book that gives this whole name its theological weight. So, from a theological dimension, as you said, she drew him out of water. If you look at, ancient Egyptian names like Tutmosis, Ramses, Ahmoses, Moses just by itself means born of or out of, right? So here, the writer, Moses himself, is saying that he was named Moses because he was born of water, because he was drawn out of water. Again, the theological implication of this is heavily leaned on by the New Testament authors when Peter talks about the Israelites being born of water when they went through the Red Sea. Paul talks about all of us being born out of water through Moses. Again, all of this theological weight only works is only given in our paradigm.
No. It means little kid.
From where? It's not a dead language. It's
Bro,
not a dead language.
The word place throughout Hebrew scripture is mind-boggling, right? God connects Moses' name to the passing through the Red Sea, to our baptism. And Jesus says, unless you're born of water and spirit, bro, it's all over here, right? The whole book is connected. Jing, 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 jing. Like it's connections everywhere, right? And here comes a guy from the desert. He goes, guys, Musa means little kid. Like, what am I supposed to do with this except laugh?
The implication is also that other people were not little kids when they were born.
Yeah, no other child was a little kid. Everybody else was grown up when they
So
were.
Allah
when they were
failed to
born.
name them Moses, apparently.
Bro, like what? What is this?
How is this unique or divine in any way? How is this a linguistic miracle? I do not understand.
My goodness. My goodness.
It seems that Muhammad is more intimately familiar with folklore or like stories that are floating around amongst traders and fishermen than he is with the actual text.
That's all he knows. When we study
crazy.
the Quran, we find out that's exactly what happened. He hears a bit from that guy and a little bit from that guy, and he puts them two together, and he's like, guys, revelation, Jibreel. Bro, it's nuts. It's craziness, the stuff that he puts together, and the concoctions are just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
We'll cover 'em. We'll cover them.
And guys, keep in mind, this guy, Mustafa Khattab, he is not a lightweight. He is a heavyweight hitter when it comes to Arabic linguistics.
He is the one who puts out the clear Quran. This is a respected,
Exactly.
lauded by the Muslims.
Now, if you're going to dismiss him and his credentials, then you have to admit Arabic is some unknown language that no human being can comprehend. In
Right.
which case, Allah has utterly failed in being able to communicate.
You know, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, right? I was thinking of saving it for later. One of the defenses that Muslims will say when you say, well, look at what it says in this verse of the Quran or that verse of the Quran or whatever, they'll say, yeah, but you don't know Arabic. Arabic is a very rich language. One word can have 100 meanings. Bro, if one word has 100 meanings, that means your language failed. Your language is an utter failure. The whole purpose of language is to transmit meaning. So if you say gaga goo and it means 100 things, nobody knows what gaga goo means, bro, your language failed. It's a failure. Don't tell me it's a rich language. Tell me my language is an utter failure. Each word, nobody knows what it means.
How can you claim that for a specific thing like a chair, you have hundreds of words, or an animal like a tiger, you have hundreds of words and still be unable to communicate meaning. Even if it takes a paragraph to describe a single word in Arabic, it has to be done. That's fine. But don't say it's unknowable. Don't say, oh, you just don't know the meaning. You have to say, I cannot convey that meaning to you. If you cannot convey that meaning, then communication has broken down. And since that communication is supposed to be divine in its nature, Allah has utterly failed in communicating.
Yes, especially when he says in his own Quran that this is a clear Quran. It's mubin, clear, bruh. Oh, Moses means a little kid. Somebody help me.
Let's see.
1,000 years before the Quran was revealed, and it stayed dead for another 1,200 years after the Quran was revealed. It was deciphered like 160 years ago with the champion. He found the Rosetta Stone and he deciphered it. So Musa means little boy, no name. So when Fir'aun talks to Musa alayhi salam in the Quran, in Surah Shu'ara, قَالَ أَوَلَمْ نُرَبِّكَ فِينَا وَلِيدًا. Didn't we raise you, Musa, which means little boy, among us as Walid? Walid means little boy. So Musa, little boy. Fir'aun.
How does that add anything to the story? I don't understand.
Bro, this
We found a little boy and we raised him. We raised the little boy.
so that means Moses means little boy.
What? What does that add? What theological weight does that add? What does this say? If you're saying that this is divine and it's like eloquent and beautiful the way that the Quran, Allah communicated this message, what message?
He's a little kid.
What little kid isn't a little kid? I don't get it. Oh, my days. Guys, come on, you need to set your bar a little higher.
In ancient Egyptian, it means high tower, like Fara' in
Oh my
Arabic.
goodness.
High tower. This is the meaning of Fir'aun in ancient Egyptian. When Fir'aun talks to Haman in the Quran, وَقَالَ فِرْعَوْنُ.
Now, who is he talking to?
He's talking about I don't know who he's talking to, but he's saying Firaun or Pharaoh or Pharaoh means high tower. Did we catch why he said? Bro, it's crazy, bro. Run it back just a little bit and let's see if he tells us why, or maybe we didn't get to it. It's hilarious.
Egyptian. When Fir'aun talks to Haman in the Quran, وَقَالَ فِرْعَوْنُ يَا هَامَانُ ابْنِ لِي صَرْحًا. Fir'aun, which means high tower, said to Haman, his chief architect, build for me sarh. Sarh means high tower. Fir'aun, high tower, build for me sarh, high tower. When Allah gives two names in the same ayah, He defines both names. In Surah Hud, وَامْرَأَتُهُ قَائِمَةٌ فَضَحِكَتْ فَبَشَّرْنَاهَا بِإِسْحَاقَ وَمِنْ وَرَاءِ إِسْحَاقَ يَعْقُوبَ.
Wait.
His wife, the wife of
Come back to Pharaoh. So just in the verse that he quoted, right? Firaun is telling Haman to build him a high tower, a tower in Egypt. Now let's think about this, right? This is how silly this whole book is. This is how silly their God is. This is how silly this great scholar is of Islam. Firaun, according in Arabic, Pharaoh in English, Firaun lived 1500 BC, give or take, in Moses, that whole event. Okay. When does Haman or Haman live? Haman is a Persian name. Persians don't show up till 1,000 years later. And you have an Egyptian king, Pharaoh, telling a Persian minister, Haman, to build him a tower. Egyptians built towers or pyramids? I thought towers were Babylonian. And the pyramids, do we just jumble everything up?
Yep.
Whole millennia, whole cultures, whole histories, just put them all together. Here, guys, this is from Jibril.
And we're also giving the benefit of the doubt that how tower is more metaphorical and is not referring to the Tower of Babel, which
right.
comes prior in the biblical narrative. So it's like he's conflating three different stories: the story of Pharaoh, the story of the Tower of Babel, and then the story of Esther.
Yes.
How?
It's what you said earlier. He was sitting in the marketplace because his wife does tanning of leather, right? Because there's that one hadith where, he saw another woman, he got excited and he went home, grabbed his wife in the middle of tanning leather and did his thing, right? Now, if you know about tanning leather, that's some nasty smelling stuff. But anyways, coming back to the point. So he's in the marketplace in where they're trading, probably trading his leather, right? That his wife may, tans or whatever. So he hears the guys say, guys, Haman and Esther, he built a big tower. And then another day he hears about a tower in that same location-ish, Tower of Babel. And then he hears Firaun. And Firaun, now this guy is in the desert somewhere, right? Actually, he's not, but we'll get to that one day. This guy, he's nowhere near Egypt. The dude's never been to Egypt, right? And he says, he doesn't know they make they built pyramids. He just says, Firaun, Haman, tower, this, put them all together, guys. Here, Revelation. Bro, it's nonstop crazy. When we get to, at some point, we're going to talk about some of the things that Firaun said. Absolutely dismantles the Quran. Right. I'm thinking, should we take the time? Well, we got a lot of names to make it through. So let's move forward. We'll come back to Firaun one day.
Same ayah, he defines both names. In Surah Hud, وَامْرَأَتُهُ قَائِمَةٌ فَضَحِكَتْ فَبَشَّرْنَاهَا بِإِسْحَاقَ وَمِنْ وَرَاءِ إِسْحَاقَ يَعْقُوبَ. His wife, the wife of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Sarah, she was standing there. She's 80 years old. He's 96 years old. When they gave her the good news of that she's going to have a son by the name of Ishaq, she smiled. فَضَحِكَتْ, she smiled, and the angels told her, your son's name will be Ishaq. What does Ishaq have to do with her smiling? Because Ishaq in Hebrew means the smiling one. Like Dahak in Arabic. Ishaq, Dahak, Yathak, Yashak. In Hebrew, it means the smiling one. وَمِنْ وَرَاءِ, and after Ishaq, Ya'qub. Ya'qub means...
Let's do Isaac first.
Yeah, let's do Isaac. Well, did you hear that last part where he said, and after Ishaq, Yaqub? So what is according to these guys in the Quran, what is Allah giving a message to Abraham and Sarah? That Sarah is going to have the good news, is getting the good news of Isaac, and after Isaac, Jacob. Hold on, Jacob is a grandson. How does Abraham and Isaac get the good news of Jacob? Bro, Isaac doesn't even get married until after Sarah dies. How is Jacob good news given to Abraham and Sarah? Does Allah think Jacob is a son of Abraham? We'll come back. Isaac. So, Isaac, they were close. You got to give him a little, I'll give him a 35, 38% out of 100. So Isaac is it's a hak, right? So there's a ayin in there, right? So it's that's why you have two A's in Isaac. It's not a lot of people say ISSAC. It's not it's ISAAC. And that AA is coming from the root, the Hebrew root, itza, and there's a glottal stop and that ayin, right? So and then you say ak. So itza ak, right? So that is why there's two A's in the Isaac. Now, what it means is laughter. Simply laughter. Why? Because in Genesis 18, when God shows up in the house of Abraham, has dinner with Abraham, sits around, chewing the fat, telling him this and that, talking about whatever. And then God says, you know what? By this time next year, you guys are going to have a kid. And Sarah, she's inside the tent, right? And in the tent, she hears this and she laughs. Genesis 18, verse 12 to 15. Sarah laughs. And God says, hey, why does Sarah laugh? Sarah says, no, no, no. Hey, I wasn't laughing. But God says, no, 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 you did laugh. And then you come to Genesis 21, verse 6, where Isaac is born. And we see why he's named Isaac, right? Because it is named as he is named laughter. Why? Because in her old age, she now laughs at those that said she would never nurse a child. And she is laughing in victory over her, that which was written over her and spoken over her by all, that she is barren, childless, right? And so she is laughing now. And her laughter is now named on Isaac. Isaac. You're muted.
It's also interesting that the Quran just takes for granted the names of Abraham and Sarah, and it makes no mention of those names. But if you know anything about the Torah, those names are actually pivotal. It's a monumental point in the story when God gives Abram the name Abraham and Sarai the name Sarah.
Amen.
And all of a sudden, these names are missed out. But, it stresses that Moses is called little kid.
Listen, nothing that matters is recorded in the Quran, right? Useless things or fake stories or made up out of thin air or Gnostic gospels are copied. The Talmud is copied. But anything that's true, it's never copied. Like, who is Adam's wife? Who is the mother of all humanity? You couldn't tell reading the Quran.